Welcome to Section 8 of our High Conflict Divorce course. It's really interesting as I'm reviewing these slides with you and presenting this to you as in our practice we provide social investigations, parenting coordination, divorce therapy, parental fitness evaluations, and all of those things. But I'm sitting here working on this presentation for you, and I hear in the other room a parenting coordination session that's occurring. And I'm hearing the husband saying, "This is bullshit. I have certain expectations of you. I pay an exorbitant amount of child support to you. I need more from you." And then I hear the ex-wife saying the same thing. I hear the ex-wife say that you make 3 times as much money than I do, and I could take you back to court to get more money, and you never seem to have the children available when I call you to talk to them. It's very interesting that here we are on Section 8 when making it all work when everything else fails. And certainly parenting coordination is a method to help people learn how to communicate by having someone intervening as a third party. So even though this couple in the other room is having some difficulty, they're going to learn to improve their conflict style with one another, and I believe this is their first session. So hopefully I'll hear less through the walls as sessions continue. Now I want to remind you about Dr. Dorenzo's co-parenting partnership method or model that we reviewed in the first section of this course. And if we're unable to, certainly the goal is to be able to follow this method together, and it takes both parties to do this together. But we're going to talk more about when this method fails and what else to do, kind of dovetailing everything that we've talked about. So I just want to remind you about the co-parenting partnership model that I've created, that I've patterned after the Gottman method. The first, and I see this as working in divorced couples as well, just not only in saving marriages, but also in saving families who are divorced that need assistance in co-parenting better. So the first step is there's got to be a commitment to co-parent. So they're committing to co-parent. Second step is they maintain open communication. So full agreement to maintain open communication with each other. That's not intrusive or invasive communication. That's fair and open communication. And then number 3, there's fostering. There's a fostering of mutual respect, fondness, and appreciation by each parent toward the other, where they focus on the more positive aspects that the parent brings. And then joining forces. These two people are committed together to work together to continue to raise their children and to use both of their strengths to give the child what's in their best interest and what will help them develop and grow to be mature and successful citizens. And then 5, improving conflict resolution skills. So you have both parties that are willing to learn how to practice emotional intelligence, learn how to control their own reactions, learn how to do diaphragmatic breathing and to calm that sympathetic nervous system, and are able to better read themselves. They know when they should bring up a topic, when they shouldn't, and they're better able to read the other person and know when they should or should not bring up a topic. And then they also know how to couch certain conversations. They don't blame, they take responsibility, they're not defensive. But they're able to skillfully navigate conversation with the other person and find resolution. And then number 6, supporting mutual expectations and the mutual desired outcomes of the children. So often parents that are divorced have competing interests and competing expectations of how the children will behave and what the goals are, what the life goals are for the children, where they're going to go to college, who their friends are going to be, what sports they're going to play. So each parent has a separate dream for the children, and the parents have to come to some agreement. There has to be some alignment about those expectations and desired outcomes for the children. And then 5, there's got to be an enhancement of mutual support for the renewed identity of both parties. So no longer is this a nuclear family together, but these are separate people, separate parents that are able now to be divorced and to follow their own dreams, to live their own lives, to date, to potentially remarry, to have adventures, and to really maximize their own potential. But both parties have to support the other person in that identity. No longer can you blame and pull the other person back into the morass or into the abyss of dysfunction. So again, you're both driving forward and trying to help the other party. In essence, when you're helping the other parent and supporting the other parent be the best, not only parent but person they can be, you're really maximizing the potential of your child. So, but what we're going to talk about is putting it all together next, when all else is failing. Okay, and when you're not following the Dr. Dorenzo's co-parenting partnership method or model. All right, so if they're not changing, you guys are not mutually working together on this, you got to just focus on your own behavior, okay? So it's now time to stop behaving in the ways that don't help, okay? One parent can make the difference, and you are going to have to be that parent if the other parent refuses to make changes, despite all of the reasoning attempts with that other person. Changing your patterns takes time, and it's the beginning of the change process. If you are consistently different, the other person is forced to be different too. And today, you can begin the change process by no longer reinforcing the other parent's attempts to make conflict. You need to start ducking and dodging their grappling hooks today. So, let's talk about strategies that are doomed to fail. When conflict and tensions are high, parents often rely upon behaviors that make them feel they are in control of situations. However, these strategies only lead to more conflict and being more out of control, and take away from the focus of being an effective parent. Typical misguided attempts at control are as follows. So, before I go through this, know that when you feel like you have to do something, okay? Problem is you're doing something ends up being counterproductive. But what this does for you psychologically is it gives you a sense of control. You think you're actually doing something, even though it's counterproductive. So, and one of these would be always trying to win in every situation. Withdrawing or avoiding and refusing to deal with the other person's concerns or requests. So just refusing to talk, giving them the cold shoulder, stonewalling. So again, this includes walking away from the other person when they are talking to you. Number 3, making exaggerated or false allegations about the other parent in court, with the police, or with Child Protective Services. This includes this is one of my favorites. This includes requesting a safety and wellness check and calling DCF because you have a feeling that your children are being abused by the other parent, or you haven't talked to them all day. Maybe you've talked to them in the morning, but it's now evening time and you're demanding that you talk again to them, and nobody's answering your calls. So you, of course, contact DCF or CPS for a wellness check. Number 4, strong-arming and bullying the other to go along with your requests. This includes standing up when they're sitting, getting in their face, making threats, and suggesting that you will air their secrets if they don't comply with your requests. I get this all the time. People will start airing somebody's college secrets, high school secrets, maybe things that they have done in their business, and they'll start airing them publicly, and all of this is an effort to control and to change the other person. You may call them psycho, crazy, borderline, a narcissist, or again, you avoid them completely. And this is all to the detriment of your child when you are just caught in the firing line of the other parent's constant or sporadic flow of erratic behaviors and whims. So again, you feel you haven't done anything, this comes in all flavors and sizes from the other person, and you're just reacting and responding to them. So we got to stop. We got to stop this. So it is time for a commitment to start dealing with things in a more effective way, regardless of the other parent's strategies or tactics. You can't change their behavior, but you can change your behavior. I'm going to say it again. You can't change their behavior, but you can change yours. So, and I got to put in parentheses, certainly if your behavior changes, and we're going to get into this, that their behavior will eventually follow suit. So stop allowing your separation, your divorce, or the other person from controlling how you live your life and your happiness. Now, strategies that do work if practiced consistently. Responding positively, briefly, informationally, and clearly. So again, so let's think of the acronym. So PBIC, okay? Responding positively, briefly, informationally, and clearly. As you begin to change your way of interacting, the other person may not be ready to do so. It may be difficult to find a respectful and positive way to respond to the other parent. You must understand your buttons, triggers, anchors, and grappling hooks, okay? And theirs. When the other parent is pushing them or throwing them, it is important to keep PBIC in mind. PBIC responses are positive messages that provide your point of view in a non-confrontational way. It is no accident that PBIC also stands for positively in the best interests of your child. So let's just run through an example or a couple examples of using PBIC in response to inflammatory statements. Parent A says, you must have a reason for leaving Billy with a babysitter when you only have him one night a week. Parent B, using PBIC, absolutely. And it was unavoidable at the time and the best solution for us. You know my time with Billy is so important to me, and I only leave him with a nanny if I have no alternatives and getting out of my work commitments. So much better, right? Nothing really for the other person to hang on to. Parent A says, so this is the antagonistic parent. Today Maggie told me she does not like spending time with you anymore, and she does not want to see you this weekend. Parent B, using PBIC, okay? Again, positive, brief, informational, and clear, okay? Or being, clearly spoken. So Parent B says, I appreciate you letting me know. Maggie did seem to enjoy herself during her last visitation with me. Thanks again for giving me the heads up. I will ensure that I give her a lot of one-on-one time when she is with me this weekend. We are already planned to do her favorite activity. Okay, perfect. So again, there's nothing for them to grab back onto. We're not killing anyone, but you are killing them with kindness, so to speak. And just being easy and clear and giving them the information and not being defensive, just offering a resolution. All right, so let's decipher what we can and cannot change. So parents often continue to fight as they continue to try and change the other parent's behavior, and when the other parent has no desire to make the change. Okay? The one with the control is the one who can change the situation, and not the one who wants to change it. So, if you can't seem to change the situation directly, you will have to work around it or accept the way things are. So if you want it changed and it's not changing, you don't have control, right? The other person obviously has control of the situation. I can't emphasize this enough, but you have control of yourself and you have control of doing other things. Okay? So for instance, give an example. Your 10-year-old returns without his lacrosse cleats and equipment that you repurchased several times because of the countless times he has returned from his mother's home and she's kept the equipment and does not answer the phone when it is time for practice when he's with you and you need the equipment. Well, do you see yourself having control of the situation? Well, the answer is no, you don't. The solution is to examine your own behavior. Every time you ask the other parent to have Johnny return with the new shoes you bought for him and all the other equipment, he returns to you without his new shoes. As you probably have figured out, all the asking, arguing, yelling, and threatening will unlikely change the situation and just leads to added conflict. There is no way to mind read to determine the cause of the other person's behavior. Because there is high conflict, you of course assume the worst, like they're doing it on purpose to cause you pain or suffering, or they are using your child to get back at you. Or here they go again, they're completely inept and can't manage their own lives or your child. So that's why they continue not to bring the equipment back. Okay? And you never account for what legitimate challenge they may be facing. But you're so pissed that you probably don't care anyway whether it's legitimate or not. Hopefully we are changing some of your sentiments about how to manage yourself and about how to manage conflict in this course. Alright, so an alternative solution would be to assist your child in remembering to be organized and to bring his belongings back to your house, especially when your child is upset when they left them behind. Further, you should not add insult to injury letting your child know that your mother won't answer the phone when you're calling to retrieve the needed equipment. So this does major damage. Okay, you certainly don't want to be telling your child how worthless the other parent is, because what are they going to do? They're going to go back and tell the parent, and then the other parent is going to use that to their advantage against you, and they're going to write that down. Might bring that up in court later with their attorney. So sure, this is extremely difficult, but you must protect your child and his or her view of the other parent. And you're protecting yourself too by not saying negative things about the other parent. So unfortunate as the situation is, you know that your ex just doesn't help and may be using your child's oversight and disorganization to spite you, and passively says that your son forgot them and wants to keep his equipment at her house just to inconvenience you. So she may just blame it on him. Say, oh no, he wants to keep it at my house. I don't know what you're talking about. And again, you may also want to talk to your child about leaving certain items at your house and bringing an older set to the other parents, or leaving the equipment at school in the locker room. You can certainly talk to the school about it without blaming the other parent, but just say, little Johnny keeps forgetting his equipment at each parent's house. Is there a locker that we can keep it here? You may talk to the coach, and coaches deal with divorced parents, so they understand that. But again, you need to make sure you're not denigrating the other parent. If you can afford it, you should purchase your own set and maintain it at your home if you run into this problem over and over again. So believe me, it will be a lot cheaper in the end to just have your own equipment rather than fighting about it with the attorneys. So let's go through some examples and determine whether you have control and what you should do. So Rebecca, who's 10, complains that her father's rules are unreasonable at her mother's house. Okay? So specifically, she wants to have her phone in her room to charge at night and finds it unfair that she can't use social media apps at her father's home. So she's complaining to her mom, I just hate it. Okay? She doesn't have to do that at her mom's house, but only at her dad's. So Mike, your ex, is unreliable. Another example. He rarely seems to be on time at exchanges at the grocery store parking lot. However, if he's on time, his car is in the parking lot and he is shopping and just grabbing some groceries. Yet forces you to bring your 3-year-old into the store after your 12-hour shift and after your 1-hour commute to the exchange point. This is a real life example. I was working with this family. They were in parenting coordination with me, and we nipped this in the bud. But the dad would go in the Publix supermarket and just say, "Oh, I'm just trying to get some groceries taken care of," and the mother would never know if he was there or not for the exchange. She would call. He wouldn't answer the phone. She would see his car in the parking lot after circling the parking lot, circling and circling. And then she'd go into Publix and find him in there shopping. And he would get hysterical back at her and say, "I don't know what you're worried about. Why are you so upset with me? I'm just trying to kill two birds with one stone. All right, another example. Your teenager informs you, as his grandparents, that his grandparents, when with his father, are always snickering about you not being able to hold down a job, dating every man on Tinder, and just being a bad parent or being a bad mom. So certainly grandparents get involved in these situations. And do you have control of any of these? Well, let's find out. Okay, I mean, you have control of you, but you don't have control of the other person. So stop trying to control things that are out of your control. We will later discuss high conflict personalities and how to manage them. But let's figure out what we need to do. So, but what I want to do first, I want to talk about another incident, another example. So, baseball diamond incident, and these are all real life experiences, real experiences. Certainly, the names have changed, and some of the events have changed, or some of the places have changed. So, let's see how we can change what we do, given the following scenario, which we will call the baseball diamond incident. Marty's parents have been divorced for 2 years. His mother brought him to the game as it was her time-sharing weekend. Marty's dad and his new girlfriend decided to come to support Marty as well. All three went to the dugout after the game to congratulate Marty for hitting a home run. All the adults rolled their eyes and said a few choice words about each other in front of the other parents and Marty's teammates and in front of Marty. Everybody's mad. Nobody feels comfortable. So, questions about Marty to think about. Let's think about this child. How do you think Marty was feeling about the adults making insults and rolling their eyes and about their other actions? Okay, let's next examine being the father. Okay, what do you think the father went through? How did he feel? Okay, the mother, how did she feel? I mean, being faced with the new girlfriend. I mean, who knows how this relationship ended? And then what about the girlfriend that's, hopefully is innocent in this situation? But sometimes not. I mean, you never know. There are a lot of factors in terms of why a relationship ends or, who's there. And what effect people have in a relationship. And then what is in each of their control. All right, so now let's move on to later that evening, okay? On the telephone, okay? The mother calls the father and tells him not to ever bring that child, okay? Meaning the father's new girlfriend, who is 15 years his junior and closer to their son's age, to the game again. Never bring her again. The mother also notes that everyone is talking about the father and wondering how he lost his marbles because he's dating someone so young, okay? The father tells her to mind her own business and that he left the mother because she was lazy. And although his new wife, okay, the new wife, girlfriend, is younger than the mother, she makes more money than the wife ever did. He then tells the mother that Marty, his son, loves it when the girlfriend comes to the games because the girlfriend or new wife practices with Marty. The mother then says, "You are lying, you pig. Can't you just leave us all alone? Your girlfriend has to practice with Marty because you are too busy at the office every day, and she's probably trying to hook up with one of Marty's young coaches." Okay, true example. True thing that I've heard parents say. And then the father then says, "Fine, I won't go to any more of his games. Don't ever speak to my girlfriend again." Man, tough situation. Poor Marty, right? Poor everybody. Poor the girlfriend, poor the mom, poor the dad. So let's look at these questions. So we are trying to understand the perspective of other people too as we're going through this. So hopefully we're thinking more about how our own actions are affecting other people. So let's next explore these important questions. Where and how did the situation get off track? What are some of the fears the mom or dad could be feeling? So either on the phone or in the dugout. What do you think the girlfriend is feeling and thinking? How is each parent interpreting the other's words and behaviors? So again, we are trying to really understand where the other person is coming from. Now, I want you to give some examples of self-talk each parent could use in the situation. How about in the dugout? How about as they're preparing to enter the dugout, they're getting triggered, they see the other party there, they could do deep breathing exercises, telling themselves that everything's okay, focus on what is positive about the other person. They could think about Marty. They could think, wow, I do not want Marty to feel bad about the situation. I am just going to keep my mouth shut, right? I'm going to talk to the other parents. I'm going to be nice because I am raising my child. I'm still in this for my kid. I'm going to be nice to my kid. So, I want to give examples again of self-talk each parent could use. Let's just think about those. What boundaries could be vocalized to prevent or lower conflict? Right? I mean, one parent could say, I'm going to get off the phone, or, you could walk away, like, you can't talk to me that way. Right? Or you could decide not to both enter the dugout. One decides not to enter the dugout when the other is there. Or on the phone, that you can't, you can't talk to me that way. I'm going to get off the phone with you. I'd love to communicate about Marty, but I'm not going to communicate about my girlfriend, or the mother, the wife, the ex-wife can say, you can't talk to me that way. I'm just not going to feed into this. Okay, can't call me lazy and those things. And all right, keep moving. And then, what are some negotiated boundaries that could be included in a parallel parenting plan to help with the situation? So, certainly, in this high conflict, with a parallel parenting plan, even though it's tough on the kids, often only the parent who has the child would bring the child to the sporting event, or they would agree to stay within a certain distance from each other. All right, so let's come up. I'm gonna give you another example of deciphering what you can and cannot change. So an example of an incessant and intrusive phone caller. Okay, so intrusive and incessant phone calls. So a father calls a mother at work and at home 5 times each day and never really has anything important or of substance to say. He just wants to talk about the past and sometimes wants to just pick a fight. The father's calls to the mother's work are becoming disruptive, and the mother's boss is upset that the mother's distracted at work too. The mother has been warned about better handling her husband, as he has made numerous calls as if it's her fault, right? But she's still responsible to take care of this. But the ex-husband has made numerous calls to the ex-wife's boss about the mother being a domestic abuser, and also has intimated that the mother has stolen from work. Although the boss does not believe any of this is factual, he wonders if there's truth in these reports, of course, right? The ex-husband's planting a seed. But regardless, the boss does not want any type of disruption to the mother's workflow or to the office's workflow for that matter. Further, now that the mother's newly remarried, the father is now calling every evening after the child's bedtime, and after he knows the mother, her new husband, and the child are in bed. So just really being really disruptive and mean. But here, the father feels out of control. So he's needing to generate these behaviors of harassing the mother. So let's think about what everybody's feeling, what the mother could possibly do. So we're going to use the same questions above to work through in this scenario. Similar questions. So where and how did the situation get off track? So there's probably more to the story that we don't know. But, of course, what are some of the fears the mom or dad could be feeling? What's the dad? What's the dad afraid of? What's the mom afraid of? And then how are they defending themselves? And is anybody really in danger? What do you think the new wife is feeling and thinking? Is that marriage going to work? Is that what or I'm sorry, the new the new husband, and there may be a new wife. What are if they're new partners? What are they both thinking? And then how is each parent interpreting the other's words and behaviors? Okay, because the problem is that there's a long history of relationship behind all these actions. And what does this all mean? And then we want to give examples of self-talk each parent could use. How does the husband stay calm and do something else and get distracted? How does the mother try to control herself and not get upset and not reinforce the husband's behavior? Can they block the number at work? And what boundaries could be vocalized to prevent or lower conflict? And what are some negotiated boundaries that could be included in a parallel parenting plan to help with the situation? And certainly the intrusive calls would be, hopefully, they would be terminated they're restricted in a parallel parenting plan. But certainly you can't control all behavior. But if somebody's not following a court order and they're continuing to call, you can certainly address that with the court. So again, if the parallel parenting plan was a court order and the judge had restricted the communication and the other parent continues to overstep the boundaries, you can certainly take legal action. But again, we don't want to take legal action unless it's absolutely necessary because of all the repercussions. So let's talk about developing new skills. And developing new skills takes a lot of time. So the concept of progress, not perfection, is key. Ending conflict will take time, so do not expect that you will be perfect each time. You are balancing giving the other person the benefit of the doubt and not being a doormat, right? It's those two things. Two things that I, hear. People, of course, when you don't trust the other person, it's really hard to give them the benefit of the doubt because you feel like they're always after you or they're up to no good. And you don't want to lay there and take it either because you feel like, man, this is a slippery slope. They're going to walk right over me. We're going to continue to walk over me. It's just going to get worse. So, you've got to really be strong and practice some self-restraint. You must learn new skills that will take lots of practice. There will be many bumps in the road and setbacks, and you will make a lot of mistakes, and that's okay. Each event, each mistake is an opportunity to learn and improve for the next time or event. Remember that you may be the only one trying to change this family system. Often that is enough, though, to change the family dynamics and improve the situation for your children. Again, you have the power. Be aware that the other parent will not begin responding more appropriately until long after you have consistently changed your behavior. People don't immediately trust that the other's changing or believe that boundaries have changed. Despite the other person not immediately following suit or immediately changing their reactions to your newfound positive behavioral changes, you should take pleasure, You should take pleasure in enjoying the benefits of being less emotionally involved in what the other parent thinks, feels, or in how they are behaving. Expect an extinction burst, meaning there will be a sudden and short-lived reversions of behavior or an increase in maladaptive behaviors when you are attempting to modify the other's dysfunctional behaviors, or even after the system seems to have changed later. They're still gonna revert sometimes, But you've got to take some pleasure in the fact that you don't have to feed into this. You're not responsible. This is their thing. Hey, certainly you're protecting your child, but I'm talking about when the parents are steeped in conflict and it's going back and forth, back and forth. You don't have to go back and forth anymore. When you are successful in not reacting to the other parent, and are successful in maintaining a boundary, or you are successful in protecting the children from conflict, you should reward yourself by calling a friend, enjoying a movie or hobby, or patting yourself on the back. Rewarding yourself will lead you to engage in the same right behavior again. So when you are in fact successful at managing your thinking, feeling, and behavior in ways that minimize the impact of the separation, divorce, or conflict on the children, you should feel great knowing that you are doing your best to protect them. And your confidence will increase, and your ability to weather the divorce storms will be enhanced. So let's do a little summary and do an important review here. So living in conflict is no way to live. Hopefully by now you're tired of living this way and you are ready to protect your children from the toxic stress of conflict despite what the other parents' plans and behaviors are. You have no excuse now. You know that one parent can reduce this toxic stress regardless of what the other parent does. Remember that when you are angry and experiencing conflict, it is likely the result of your attempts and past failed attempts to change the other's behavior. Rather than attempting to change them, you are now instead going to detach emotionally, reduce contact, and provide them space to grieve and lower their own conflict. No longer will you reinforce the conflict of being a target or giving them ground to grab hold of. You can help yourself be less emotionally reactive by deciding to interpret the other parent's behavior neutrally or positively, or by viewing them as sick and needing more time to grieve over past hurt. Or, again, just needing to be in control because they feel so out of control. Again, you can reduce the conflict for yourself and your children by changing how you interpret the other parent's behavior. It's not about you unless you choose it to be. You cannot change what is out of your control. The other parent's behavior is absolutely out of your direct control. By defining clear boundaries, you can establish limits on what, when, and how you will communicate with the other parent, how you will react to their inappropriate behavior. You do not want to act inappropriately to their already inappropriate behavior, as this makes you as responsible for generating or maintaining the conflict along with them. Your job is to provide predictability to your children. Predictability fosters a more peaceful life for your children and yourself. You must be committed to the long haul. Divorce does not end when the children are 18. It ends with death. Change, and that's it ends with the death of you and the other parent. Change doesn't happen overnight. You have lots of time for practice with this long-term perspective. Change is worth the effort. You owe it to yourself and to your children. So Section 8 exercise, it's about introspection, it's about you, your illustration, and your action. So I want you to write down what is most germane to you or what's most relevant to you. So what is something that you will do differently the next time you are in an uncomfortable situation with your former partner? What behavior do you need to change that contributes to the ongoing conflict? What am I willing to let go of about the other person? Am I willing to now focus on my own change rather than attempting to will the other to change? It is true most of our arguments and conflicts have been about our attempts, to will the other to be different. Do you believe that? Do you believe that it's true, again, that most of your arguments and conflicts have been about your attempts to will or control the other person and to make them be different? If you do, you can stop that today.